10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, my beautiful souls, to Becoming with Erika, a space where we heal out loud, grow through what tried to break us, and become everything we're meant to be. And if this is your first time listening, where have you been hiding? We missed you, and I'm so glad you're here. Today, I want to talk about something that I don't think gets talked about enough: loneliness. And no, not the kind that comes from being physically alone, the kind that somehow finds you even when you're surrounded by people. Recently, I had a conversation that stopped me in my tracks. I was trying to share with someone I loved that I had been feeling lonely. But before I could really explain, they responded by telling me how alone they felt. They had left everything familiar behind to chase a dream. As I listened to them, I realized something. When two people are carrying the same kind of pain, it's easy to miss what the other person is trying to say. We were both hurting, we were both trying to be heard, but our loneliness looks different. The difference is I haven't gone anywhere. I'm still living the normal life, still working, still being a mom, still recording my podcast, still showing up, still smiling, still staying connected, still empathizing with others, still being a cheerleader, still encouraging people, yet somehow I'm still lonely. The difference between being alone and feeling alone, I think we confuse these two all the time. Being alone is physical. Feeling alone, that's emotional. You can sit in a crowded room, go to church every Sunday, have friends, have coworkers, have family, even have people cheering you on, and still feel like nobody truly knows what you're carrying. Sometimes people know your role, but they don't know your heart. They know you're the strong one, the positive one, the encourager, but they don't realize that sometimes the encourager needs encouragement too. Who pours into the person who pours into everyone else? This question has been sitting in my heart because if you're someone who naturally encourages people, how often do people assume you're okay? But just because someone is strong doesn't mean they don't get tired. Just because someone smiles doesn't mean they aren't carrying something heavy. Sometimes the people checking on everyone else need someone to check on them. Jesus understands loneliness. One of the things that brings me comfort is realizing that Jesus understands this feeling. He had 12 disciples. Crowds followed him. People consistently wanted something from him. Yet there were moments where he withdrew to pray alone. And in the Garden of Gethsemane, he asked his closest friend to stay awake with him, not because he lacked faith, but because he was carrying something heavy. That reminds me that needing people isn't weakness. God created us for relationship. Maybe this is the part of becoming. I've been thinking about this. Maybe becoming is lonelier than we expected, not because we're doing something wrong, but because we're leaving behind an old version of ourselves before we fully step into the new one. It's like standing in a doorway. You're no longer who you used to be, but you're not quite where you're going. And that space can feel incredibly lonely. So what am I learning? I'm learning that I don't have to pretend to be okay all the time. I'm learning that asking for support isn't weakness. I'm learning that community isn't just about being there for other people. It's also about allowing other people to be there for you. There is a very thin line between always being strong and allowing yourself to have a moment of weakness so you can rebuild your strength. It's a thin line between strong and weakness. This season has been stretching me, if you haven't noticed. Sometimes I go delirious. Some days it feels heavier than others, but in the middle of it, I keep coming back to what Jesus says in Matthew 11:29. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. But it doesn't stop there. Then he tells me on 1 Peter 2:21, to this you were called, because Christ suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow in his step. And that makes me stop and ask myself, how do I respond to this season? For me, the least I can do is keep trying to follow in his footsteps, not perfectly, but faithfully. I truly believe God gave me this voice for a reason, not because I have all the answers, not because I have figured out life, because I haven't, but because I prayed. God, use me however you see fit. I don't think it's a coincidence that this podcast was born. Maybe my experience, my struggles, my victories, and even my loneliness, those lonely seasons, are meant to remind someone else that they aren't walking through theirs alone. If this episode resonated with you, I want to challenge you to do one thing this week. Reach out to one person, not to fix them, not to give them advice, simply to let them know where you really are. Healing often begins the moment we stop pretending we're okay. And if today you need someone to remind you of this, you are seen. You matter. You are deeply loved. And you don't have to walk this journey alone. Because around here, I'm becoming with Erika, and we're all becoming together. So, as always, thank you and God bless.